Welcome to the Noticias El Salvador SD podcast, a space for conversation and reflection, where we explore current events in El Salvador and around the world. If you'd like to support this project, you'll find the payment options, PayPal or QR Bitcoin, in the content description. For those requesting interviews, please note that we are not currently offering podcasts in that format. However, if you'd like to advertise your products, please email us at the address in the description. Find us on your favorite platform as Noticias El Salvador SV. Today we're undertaking a deep dive. We've got an absolutely essential stack of sources here, tracking really the intersection of global financial power and national digital revolution. Our mission, let's be clear, is to unpack these, dizzying international financial shocks. We're talking the race for artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency volatility, and then connect those currents directly to critical domestic updates. So El Salvador's fiscal health, its pioneering tech infrastructure, it's a dense discussion and an urgent one.
It really is. And the sheer pace of change documented in these sources, it demands clarity. We absolutely must prioritize the signals over the noise. Given these extreme shifts, the fundamental reorientation of capital we're seeing globally, I think we have to begin our deep dive by analyzing the most, compelling and dramatic international economic data point we found. We really need to start where the money is moving fastest and, most violently, #tactic, ABI, international financial markets and cryptocurrency volatility, prioritized economy focus.
Okay, let's unpack that financial volatility right at the top then. The headline we found regarding Bitcoin, it's startling, really. It demands immediate context. Bitcoin CEA $1,263 ahora. Yeah. Now that reported figure, $101,263. It suggests either we're observing unprecedented sustained high valuations, or, given the context that the source describes it as a fall, a major correction, a six-figure magnitude correction. What's the analytical significance here? Seeing a price point like $101,263, but in the context of a dramatic drop.
Well, what's fascinating, truly fascinating here, is that even the reported trough, the low point, is higher than many analysts predicted for the previous cycle's peak. Think about that. A price hitting and staying above $100,000 for Bitcoin is, by any measure, an exceptional milestone. It confirms the asset's arrival as a major global financial instrument, no question. However, when the source specifies this is a fall, now we're discussing capital movement on a colossal scale. Almost unimaginable, really. This price drop implies a major correction occurred, likely from an even higher peak, maybe near $120,000, perhaps $130,000, and compressed within a very, very short trading window.
Right, so if that drop is verified, we're talking a decline of tens of thousands of dollars in maybe hours or days. Doesn't that immediately suggest capital flight? Or maybe institutional panic?
It certainly suggests extreme liquidity events, often driven by a combination of factors, but primarily leverage liquidation and institutional reallocation. When you see such rapid, deep movements in a market as highly leveraged as cryptocurrency, what happens is massive margin calls get triggered. And this forces the sale of large positions. It just cascades the price downwards. That's the mechanical reality behind what sources are calling, colloquially, whale sell-offs.
Okay, could you elaborate on that term, the mass sale of whales? For our listeners, what exactly does a whale sell-off entail? Yeah. And why is it so much more disruptive than just typical market trading?
Sure. A whale in this context, it's an individual, or more often nowadays, an institution that holds a disproportionately large amount of Bitcoin. Think tens of thousands of coins, potentially more. So when an entity like that decides to dump or sell even just a fraction of their holdings, the sheer volume, it just overwhelms the buy-side liquidity on the exchanges. The price simply can't absorb that volume easily, and the result is a steep, sudden decline, like the drop we saw reported down to $101,263.
But the analysis provided in the sources, it suggests something counterintuitive, doesn't it? That this very gift, this mass sale, could actually precede a new high. How does that work? How does a massive correction set the stage for further record gains?
Well, this is the cyclical pattern, isn't it? We've observed it in crypto for years now. These sharp corrections, especially when they're driven more by leverage liquidation than some fundamental failure of the network, they serve to, cleanse the market. They shake out the overly leveraged speculative traders, the short-term holders, and the asset tends to return to stronger hands, those with long-term conviction. Often institutions these days who see it as a buying opportunity, they buy the dip. So the mass sell-off removes that weak selling pressure. It creates a stronger foundation for the next potential upward move. And often that does lead to a new high. It's definitely highly risky, but strategically, some view this volatility as, the necessary path to sustain growth.
Okay, from a journalistic perspective then, Focusing on this volatility is crucial for our listeners, and especially in a nation like El Salvador, where Bitcoin is actually legal tender. How do these extreme shifts, these six-figure prices and massive drops, fundamentally affect the perception and, maybe more importantly, the utility of digital assets in a national context?
They really create a profound perception dilemma. It's a real challenge. On one hand, the fact that Bitcoin can command a $100,000 plus valuation, that validates its status as a store of value. It makes it look like a desirable asset for, say, treasury reserves. But on the other hand, the volatility, exactly as you say, makes its use for daily commerce incredibly challenging, despite its legal status. Stability remains the holy grail for mass adoption. When an asset can swing by, say, 20% in a week, it just reinforces the narrative for skeptics that it's still primarily a speculative instrument, not really a reliable medium of exchange yet. And this tension, this conflict between innovation and stability, is really one of the core conflicts playing out in the current global economic landscape.
That focus on innovation, it leads us perfectly into the next monumental shift captured in our sources: the global race for dominance in artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
This really looks like the next major economic engine.
Absolutely. And what the sources are showing us is a high-stakes competition, really high stakes. We see two distinct strategies unfolding at the same time, often in contrast. You've got state-led governmental strategy on one side, and then hyper-aggressive private sector capital deployment on the other.
Okay, let's examine the governmental approach first. Let's use South Korea as our example here. The sources highlight South Korea's decision. They're tripling their expenses in artificial intelligence for the 2026 budget. That's an exponential commitment, a tripling. What's the national mandate driving that level of strategic, sustained governmental investment?
South Korea, much like other advanced industrial economies, recognizes a fundamental truth now. Technological supremacy in AI is inseparable from national security and economic sovereignty. Tripling the budget signals an unambiguous, long-term national mandate. This isn't just about, say, improving existing industries. No, it's about ensuring sovereign technological resilience. They're aiming to secure leadership in fundamental AI research. The foundational large language models, advanced computing, the whole stack. The goal is to create entirely new economic sectors. And crucially, to avoid dependence on foreign AI infrastructure, particularly, that of the United States or China, this strategic spending is really about guaranteeing future competitiveness.
So it's a defensive move and an offensive measure, all rolled into one. They're using the full weight of the national treasury to shape their technological destiny.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it.
Right.
They're betting that state coordination combined with massive funding can mobilize domestic talent and resources faster and perhaps more cohesively than a purely free market approach might. Their goal isn't just to use AI, it's to own the intellectual property, own the computing infrastructure that powers it.
Okay, now let's contrast that state-led commitment with the sheer velocity and the geographical focus of private capital deployment detailed in the sources. Microsoft announced a staggering $15.2 billion in AI investments, specifically directed toward the United Arab Emirates. That is a massive injection of private funds into one specific region.
Yes, the Microsoft UAE deal, it really highlights the alternative strategy. Massive, targeted private capital creating regional hubs to scale. $15.2 billion. It's astonishing. It makes it one of the largest single private tech investments outside the United States. And this partnership is fundamentally different from South Korea's model. It leverages Microsoft's immense technical expertise, its existing platforms, and its immediate capital. This allows for deployment at lightning speed, often bypassing the kind of bureaucratic friction that can sometimes slow down government initiatives.
So break that down for us. What does Microsoft gain from this? And what does the UAE gain by structuring a deal of this magnitude?
Okay, for Microsoft, the gain is clear. Establishing dominance in a strategically vital, high-growth region in the Middle East, they get to control the infrastructure, the cloud computing backbone, and potentially the intellectual property framework deployed there. This ensures future revenue streams are tied directly back to their ecosystem. It's about market capture. For the UAE, they gain instant access to cutting-edge AI infrastructure, talent development programs, and the prestige, frankly, of becoming a central hub for future digital economic activity in the region. And they get all this without having to bear the initial, long, and very costly burden of pure fundamental research themselves. It's a rapid modernization strategy. You could say it's petrodollars meeting Silicon Valley technology. The contrast you see between this speed and South Korea's longer-term budget planning, it's really instructive for understanding global investment trends right now.
It's clear that capital, both public and private, is focused intensely on the infrastructural future, isn't it? But what does this mean for the current consumer digital and hardware market? Are people still spending on, let's say, older tech, existing services, while this massive AI revolution is underway?
The sources confirmed that, yes, even while this heavy capital flows into futuristic AI consumer liquidity, their willingness to spend on current digital life, it remains robust. So this gives us a picture of a healthy, sort of bifurcated market, money flowing into the future, but also supporting the present.
Okay, let's look at digital services first then. Spotify reported a solid 12% increase in subscriptions during the third quarter.
That 12% growth, it's a significant signal. It shows sustained consumer commitment. It really indicates that digital entertainment services like Spotify are now considered, well, non-negotiable staples for many people, not luxuries easily cut during economic uncertainty. It also suggests that consumers, even if they might be tightening their belts in other areas, are still willing to commit to these recurring revenue models, and that's absolutely essential for the financial health of the global tech sector.
And on the physical side, the hardware side, the sources noted strong performance in gaming hardware. Nintendo actually increased the annual sales objective for its Switch 2 console.
Right, that increased sales objective for a physical console. It demonstrates strong, consistent consumer demand in the hardware sector, which is interesting, isn't it? In a world that seems increasingly dominated by subscription services and cloud computing, this continued appetite for dedicated gaming hardware shows that consumers still value, perhaps, the tangible quality, the immersive experience provided by high-quality physical technology. So whether it's streaming music on Spotify or buying a new Nintendo console, consumer spending is clearly supporting the current digital economy, even while global finance pivots hard towards AI and these decentralized systems.
This intense global context, high volatility, technological arms races, it provides the perfect stage, really, for our national discussion, because El Salvador isn't just observing these trends, it is actively attempting to use the most volatile of these technologies, Bitcoin, to fundamentally redefine its governance infrastructure. We're talking about using Bitcoin as an immutable public record.
That is the pivotal shift, exactly. The nation is moving beyond viewing Bitcoin merely as, a currency or an investment asset. It's treating the underlying blockchain as a core piece of public infrastructure. That's the key insight.
Let's dive deep into the technical core of this innovation then. The project involved the National Bitcoin Office, ONBTC, collaborating with a United States-based company called Simple Proof. Their aim is to register and protect official digital documents on the Bitcoin blockchain. How exactly does a volatile assets public ledger become a rock-solid guarantor of official documents? It seems counterintuitive again.
This is where we need to explain the technical elegance, really, of the open timestamps protocol. The innovation relies not on Bitcoin's price, that's irrelevant here, but on the absolute provable chronological order of its blocks. The system leverages Bitcoin's decentralized nature to solve what is perhaps the most ancient problem of bureaucracy, proving that a document existed unaltered at a specific point in time.
Okay, so how does the system ensure that the timestamp is accurate and, crucially, immutable, unchangeable?
Well, Carlos Torriello, who's the CEO of Simple Proof, has explained this. The system exploits Bitcoin's unique capability to act as an, quote, immutable digital clock, or a global notary. That's the concept. When a document needs to be certified, a transaction is created. This transaction references the cryptographic hash of that document, we'll get to that, and it embeds it or links to it within a specific Bitcoin block. Now, since Bitcoin blocks are generated roughly every 10 minutes, and the entire chain, the entire history, is verifiable by anyone in the world, associating that hash with a specific block number provides verifiable permanent evidence that the document existed at that precise moment.
It sounds complex, but the critical takeaway for our listener then is no future government, no outside party, no hacker can retroactively alter that public record. Is that right?
Exactly. That's the core value proposition. The immutability is guaranteed by the sheer economic incentive structure of the entire Bitcoin network. To alter a record in an old block would require controlling more than half of the global computing power dedicated to Bitcoin mining. It's a feat that is prohibitively expensive, practically impossible, making the blockchain effectively unchangeable. And this degree of censorship resistance, this global verifiability, it's vastly superior to any centralized government server or database. Those can always be corrupted or altered by malicious actors or even, future administrations wanting to rewrite history.
Let's be very clear about the mechanism here, though. For scalability and for privacy, they are not uploading the actual documents or private citizen data onto the public blockchain. Right? That would be extremely inefficient and a massive privacy risk. They're using a digital fingerprint.
That technical specificity is absolutely critical, yes. Simple proof generates what's called a cryptographic hash. You can think of it like a unique digital fingerprint. It's a fixed-length string of characters derived mathematically from the document. Any change at all, even just adding a single comma in the original document, creates an entirely different hash. It's extremely sensitive. By embedding just this hash into the Bitcoin block, they verify the document's existence and its integrity without ever needing to expose the actual content. And the source material emphasizes this efficiency aspect. It says they can protect millions of documents with a single transaction without congesting the network. That's key for national scale.
And that technical efficiency allows for deployment at a national scale.
Okay, so what was the first public application of this? Well, groundbreaking national technology. The first documents they registered were the certificates, the diplomas, for students who graduated from the CUBO plus Advanced Bitcoin Education Program. It was quite an elegant choice, really, for the pilot program. The cryptographic hash for each of these diplomas is now publicly visible and verifiable on the government's public Bitcoin site. What this means is that every graduate and any potential employer anywhere in the world can instantly verify that the diploma is genuine, that it was issued at a specific time. It prevents falsification immediately.
The stated goal here is crucial, isn't it? Guaranteeing transparency and citizen confidence. By preventing the manipulation or falsification of public documents, the government is trying to build trust using decentralized technology.
And the long-term potential for this system, that's what truly sets a worldwide precedent. If this adoption continues, the sources conclude that El Salvador could become the first country in history whose documentation, like land titles, academic records, government decrees, is verifiable by anyone at any time, anywhere in the world. That's a powerful shield against internal corruption. It's a revolutionary step toward real transparency. In this age of deepfakes and advanced digital forgery, having a verified, permanent national history written on an unchangeable ledger, that's perhaps the most valuable digital asset a nation can possess.
It's interesting, as El Salvador builds out this cutting-edge infrastructure, we also see established institutional players in Central America reinforcing their engagement with digital assets. It's not happening in a vacuum.
Exactly. MasterCard, a legacy payment giant, is reinforcing its commitment to cryptocurrencies in Central America. They're doing this through their crypto card program. This is not a small detail, you see. It signifies growing regional adoption and, critically, institutional support for digital assets. It shows that crypto is moving, slowly perhaps, but surely, from being a niche technology used mainly by enthusiasts towards becoming a more fully integrated mainstream financial service, supported by major payment processors. And they're recognizing the shifting financial landscape that's being catalyzed by nations like El Salvador, #Tech3 national economic indicators and fiscal health.
Okay, we must now pivot, though, from technological ambition to, fiscal reality. The national economy presents a complex picture. There's rapid progress, yes, but it's set against significant structural burdens. Let's start with the immense cost of servicing the national debt.
This is the critical anchor point, really. It defines the constraints on the national budget. The sources report a deeply concerning fiscal detail. The government paid over $1.3 billion in public debt interest alone, just interest, up to September 2025. This figure represents money spent solely to service past borrowing. It's not principal reduction, it's not investment in future growth, it's just the cost of carrying the debt.
$1.3 billion.
Yeah.
That's a staggering sum.
Yeah.
How does that compare to previous years, and what are the practical implications of that year-over-year difference?
Well, the year-over-year contrast is alarming. The resources allocated just to honor this interest commitment grew by 6% compared to the interest paid during the same period in 2024. That's 6% increase. It might sound small, but we're talking potentially tens of millions of dollars more. And it's effectively non-discretionary spending. It's a mandatory cost that has to be paid.
We've used the term crowding out before in our discussions. If interest payments are growing by 6%, what does that $1.3 billion commitment and its year-over-year increase practically crowd out from the national budget? What doesn't get funded because of this?
The term crowding out perfectly captures the severity of the situation. Yes, this interest cost acts like a significant tax on future prosperity. That $1.3 billion, it might represent the equivalent of building and equipping perhaps a dozen large-scale hospitals, or maybe funding the entire national university system for several years. When that interest burden grows by 6%, that is public money that simply cannot be used to fund the very structural investments the country needs. like the education infrastructure we'll discuss later, or enhanced health services. It means that even as the economy might be growing, those gains are partially negated by the rising cost of past debt. It's a real drag.
Okay, but despite this heavy financial obligation, the sources also point to some very positive indicators, particularly regarding market confidence in the nation's ability to actually pay that debt.
That's the critical contrast in this analysis, isn't it? You've got this burden, but also signs of improving confidence. The country risk index, measured by the EMBI, that's the Emerging Market Bond Index, it dropped significantly. In October, it hit 348 points. Now, this is a crucial positive metric. It represents the lowest rate recorded since January 2018. The EMBI basically measures the spread, the difference between a country's government bonds and risk-free United States Treasury bonds. So a drop means the market perceives the country as significantly less likely to default than it did in previous years. The 42-point drop this year signals improving investor confidence. And that's often fueled by things like effective debt management and, well, improved fiscal stability narratives.
But wait a minute. If we are celebrating the lowest rate since 2018, yet the context immediately highlights that this EMBI score remains the highest in Central America and the 5th highest in Latin America, aren't we just celebrating being the least bad of a high-risk group? What's your take as an analyst on that specific level of cautious optimism? Is it really that positive?
That is precisely the critical question the listener must ask. Yes, we absolutely must temper optimism with fiscal reality. While 348 points is definitely an improvement, what it means in practical terms is that El Salvador's cost of borrowing is still approximately 3.48 percentage points higher than the rate the United States government pays. That's a significant premium. And this high-risk premium is directly related to the persistent debt burden we just discussed. It's a kind of vicious cycle. High debt leads to high risk of perception, which leads to higher borrowing costs, making it harder to manage the debt. So the market is less worried than before, yes, but it still places a clear financial penalty on the country compared to its regional neighbors. The path to achieving, say, investment grade status or even just matching regional peers, it's still long. And it requires sustained fiscal discipline, particularly regarding those outstanding interest payments.
And part of securing that future financial credibility involves engaging with major international financial bodies like the IMF. The sources detail specific challenges there.
Yes, the EMFI investment group reported on this complex relationship. They identified 4 outstanding commitments or debts that the Salvadoran government has yet to fulfill with the IMF for the second review of their program. Addressing these commitments isn't just about satisfying the IMF bureaucracy. It's key to unlocking potential further agreements, securing more favorable funding terms in the future, and fundamentally bolstering that international financial credibility we just talked about. Failure to meet these commitments acts as a kind of brake on further reductions in that EMBI score.
But domestically, the economic engine seemed to be generating some momentum, irrespective of those outstanding IMF commitments.
That's absolutely correct. And it speaks to strong domestic drivers. Media reports are highlighting significant overall economic activity growth, specifically and quite powerfully driven by the construction sector. Construction activity often signals broader confidence in the economy. It translates directly into job creation and much-needed infrastructure development. Furthermore, the government is proactively seeking international investment. They're presenting major tourism initiatives, like the Surf City investment projects, directly to the World Bank. This shows an active effort to diversify the economy beyond traditional sectors and attract foreign capital into tangible development projects.
And before we move on from the economy, there was a specific bright spot mentioned in the traditional export market.
Yes, indeed. Coffee exports increased by more than $35 million in September 2025. That's a solid number. While the economy is rapidly digitizing and embracing new sectors like tourism and tech, the foundational agricultural sector, particularly coffee, continues to demonstrate solid export strength. This reliable stream of foreign currency remains absolutely essential for balancing the national accounts and, of course, supporting crucial rural economies.
Okay, as we transition now to the second half of this deep dive, we do want to remind you, our listener, that if you value this space for conversation and reflection, and if you appreciate the depth and the analysis we're bringing to this complex information, please consider supporting our project. You can make contributions using the payment options provided right there in the content description, whether that's through PayPal or using QR Bitcoin. Your support directly helps us sustain these in-depth analyses and continue to provide this crucial context for understanding national and international events. We really appreciate it. #AV, National Social, Safety, and Educational Dynamics. Turning now to the domestic situation here in El Salvador, let's start with public safety metrics. These remain really the foundation of the current national narrative, and they continue to show ongoing positive trends according to our sources.
Yes, the sources confirm the continued accumulation of days with 0 homicides recorded at the beginning of November 2025. This sustained record of security progress has profound implications, doesn't it? It stabilizes communities, it encourages investment both domestic and foreign, and it drastically alters the nation's global reputation, which, as we noted, is critical for those tourism projects like Surf City.
And beyond a homicide rate, safety improvements are also being driven by modern enforcement technology on the roadways.
Indeed. The data supporting the implementation of photo fines seems compelling. It's attributed to a reported 50% reduction in traffic accidents. That's a huge drop. This suggests that the strategic use of enforcement technology, when combined with a clear legislative mandate, can be highly effective in changing driver behavior and ultimately protecting public health on the roads. Furthermore, we see continued rigor in enforcement actions. For instance, the arrest of a bus driver who was operating under the influence of alcohol in La Paz. This focus on zero tolerance across different aspects of public safety seems holistic.
And the judicial system, importantly, continues to demonstrate its capability to process major criminal cases, reinforcing the rule of law.
That's a necessary complement, isn't it? To preventative security measures. You need accountability. Recent legal outcomes mentioned include the initiation of a trial for individuals caught transporting a significant quantity, 319 kilograms of cocaine. That signals successful interdiction of major trafficking operations. Additionally, the courts issued decisive sentences for violent crimes. For example, a 15-year sentence for disappearing a person and a 12-year sentence for rape. These judicial actions are vital for ensuring that security gains are rooted in long-term accountability and justice.
Okay, now we shift focus to long-term national capacity. We're looking at education and future workforce concerns. This section, particularly the editorial focus highlighted in the sources, presents what looks like the most critical long-term threat to the nation's ambitions. But first, let's quickly review the infrastructure investment side.
Right, the commitment to physical infrastructure in education is significant. The 2 schools per day program is making tangible progress. The sources detail the inauguration of 70 rebuilt public educational centers, and this is backed by a robust $61 million investment. This infrastructural commitment aims to physically modernize the learning environment, addressing potentially decades of neglect in public education facilities.
And simultaneously, the quality of instruction, student preparedness, that's being assessed via the ongoing Avanzo test.
Yes, the Avanzo test is the standardized assessment. It's currently evaluating high school students in crucial areas, specifically pre-calculus and citizenship. These kinds of assessments are vital tools, really, for gauging academic preparedness and for ensuring the curriculum is meeting national standards, especially as the demand for more sophisticated technical skills increases rapidly in the economy.
But here is the central challenge, the point that the sources highlighted as a critical long-term threat. It undermines the very technological leadership we were just discussing in Section 2. An editorial expressed serious concern regarding the reduction in university enrollment, calling it, quote, a national wake-up call. How severe is this structural threat, really?
This is perhaps the most worrying data point in the entire source stack we reviewed, because it directly undermines almost every technological and economic gain the country is achieving or striving for. Think about it. We just celebrated El Salvador pioneering the use of blockchain for national governance, a highly complex, sophisticated task. That requires people. That task requires a steady and indeed increasing supply of software engineers, financial analysts, cryptographers, highly skilled project managers, leaders.
And if university enrollment is declining, that talent pipeline is shrinking. Is that the core issue?
Precisely. If that pipeline shrinks, the country risks undercutting its own high-tech economic pivot. It's building the infrastructure, but potentially lacking the people to run it or build upon it. The editorial concern was emphatic, it stated. The future of El Salvador depends on how many young people can continue dreaming and studying in their own country. The implication is clear. If fewer young people are pursuing higher education, they may either leave the country for opportunities elsewhere, brain drain, or, more broadly, the domestic human capital capacity will simply be insufficient to maintain the complex digital infrastructure being built. This creates a profound paradox, doesn't it? Pioneering the future while risking a shortage of the people needed to actually operate and innovate within that future. Addressing access, cost, and the perceived value of higher education. It has to become a top national priority to sustain this digital leap. It's fundamental.
Okay, let's briefly cover the necessary environmental and health updates before we move back to the global geopolitical stage.
Right, some quick updates here. We saw concentrated seismic activity reported, highlighting the country's consistent geological risk. Specifically, 45 tremors were recorded in Waiua within just a brief 4-hour period, a significant cluster. Separately, weather conditions are affecting infrastructure. Strong north winds were reported to have caused physical damage, including 7 downed trees, always a risk. And on the health front, officials also registered 10 cases of leishmaniasis. That's an infectious disease requiring ongoing monitoring and public health vigilance. #TagV geopolitical and international context.
Our sources also span some significant geopolitical developments. Let's start with politics in the United States and the, perpetual complexities surrounding migration issues that affect this region.
Yes, the international section begins with a notable event. The passing of former United States Vice President Dick Cheney at 84 years old. His death naturally prompts reflection on his highly influential and often quite divisive role in United States policy, particularly during the George W. Bush administration. His legacy is fundamentally tied to the nation's foreign policy and national security apparatus, especially during the post-9/11 era, a major figure.
In migration, it remains such a complex issue, always with these dual realities, doesn't it? On one hand, you have the vital economic support flowing back to Central American families. On the other, the ongoing human tragedy and the legal complexities.
Economically, the positive news reported was the sustained growth in family remittances. They were up 18.5% through September. That's a very substantial increase. This inflow of remittances is a crucial stabilizing factor for the Salvadoran economy. It provides essential liquidity and support for countless families, and it acts as a major external source of capital for the national economy as a whole.
But we must contrast that necessary economic lifeline with the tragic human cost that was also detailed in the sources.
Yes, we absolutely must pause to note the tragic loss of 8 Salvadorans in a traffic accident in Georgia in the United States. This devastating event serves as a painful, sobering reminder of the constant risks and dangers associated with the migration experience and the immense human cost often involved in seeking better economic opportunities abroad.
We also see ongoing legal battles impacting skilled migration pathways into the U.S.
That's right. There are significant legal complexities related to United States visas. The sources mention a lawsuit seeking to halt a massive $100,000 fee that was imposed for certain H-1B visas. Now, for the listener, the H-1B visa is the primary pathway for skilled foreign workers in specialized fields, tech, science, medicine, to work in the U.S. A $100,000 fee makes acquiring that kind of skilled labor prohibitively expensive for many U.S. companies, which is why this lawsuit aims to protect that pathway, arguing it's vital for technological and scientific exchange. Separately, we also see continued enforcement actions. The sources mentioned the arrest of a Salvadoran in Virginia by IC due to what authorities cited as an extensive criminal history. This underscores the ongoing legal complexities and enforcement priorities within the United States immigration system.
Okay, moving now to global security and regional political instability. Mexico has experienced a shocking security crisis that really underscores the vulnerability of local governance there.
Yes, the assassination of Mayor Carlos Manzo in Mexico is extremely alarming. And it's indicative, sadly, of the dire security challenges faced by political leaders in regions heavily influenced by organized crime. The sources note specifically that the mayor had requested governmental support precisely to confront organized crime before his death. His murder highlights the intense pressure criminal organizations place on local political structures, and it has led, understandably, to resulting widespread calls for justice, for protection for officials, and for accountability from regional governments. A very serious situation.
And further south in the region, an important diplomatic rift has occurred.
Yes, Peru decided to break diplomatic relations with Mexico. This is a significant diplomatic action, and it was tied, according to the sources, to the political context surrounding a former Peruvian minister, Betsy Chavez. This reflects heightened political instability and tension within the South American diplomatic sphere. We often see how domestic political events can spill over and impact international relations in the region.
All right, to conclude our international sweep, we look at a sharp contrast in legal systems and also an instance of humanitarian response.
Right. First, the legal contrast. Singapore, which is known for its rigorous, some would say strict judicial philosophy, has approved sentences of up to 24 lashes for individuals convicted of digital fraud. This really highlights a stark difference in legal systems regarding the severity of punishment applied to white-collar and cyber crimes, especially when compared to many Western jurisdictions. Meanwhile, on the humanitarian front, following the devastating earthquake in northern Afghanistan, which tragically claimed 27 lives, El Salvador demonstrated regional solidarity and commitment to international aid. They promptly sent humanitarian relief to Jamaica following the passage of Hurricane Melissa. This demonstrates a national capacity to project, let's call it soft power, and regional support, even while managing those significant domestic financial pressures we discussed earlier.
That covers an immense amount of ground, doesn't it? From global capital chasing AI dominance all the way down to the local struggle to educate the next generation needed to sustain that very progress.
It does. The sources, when you view them all together like this, they paint a powerful narrative. A narrative of a nation, El Salvador, facing these high-stakes global economics, utilizing pioneering digital innovation, but all while managing persistent fiscal pressure and these really fundamental structural domestic challenges, like the retention, or rather the development, of human capital. Hashtag tagoutcheck.
Okay, let's quickly try to connect the major themes for you, our listener. First, we saw the extreme high-stakes volatility of Bitcoin. That was exemplified by the massive reported dip down to $101,263. But that was contrasted sharply with its powerful pioneering adoption by El Salvador, using it to create immutable public records via the Open Timestamps protocol, proving perhaps that volatility doesn't necessarily negate utility in all contexts.
Furthermore, we observed the nation's growing economic activity, driven by robust construction, increased coffee exports, positive signs, but set directly against the persistent heavy burden of increasing public debt interest costs. That $1.3 billion payment, which grew by 6% year over year, it constrains investment in future capacity. It's a real structural challenge.
And finally, domestically, we celebrated verifiable security progress. The continued accumulation of days with zero homicides, the documented 50% reduction in traffic accidents attributed to photo fines, real achievements, which is unfortunately offset by a critical long-term structural challenge in education. Specifically, that concerning reduction in university enrollment. It dictates the very human capital capacity needed to sustain the country's innovative digital future.
Okay, let's strive for our 60-second summary of the 3 key conclusions from this deep dive.
First, the global tech pivot. The massive and contrasting investments we're seeing in AI, both from national governments like South Korea tripling its budget and private giants like Microsoft injecting $15.2 billion into the UAE. Coupled with the reported extreme volatility in Bitcoin, it signals a rapid, high-stakes redirection of global capital into decentralized digital infrastructure and emerging technology. That's undeniable.
Second, El Salvador's fiscal pressure versus digital innovation. Despite achieving its lowest country risk rate, the EMBI at 348 points, in years, which is good news, the burden of public debt interest payments remains significant. It's directly constraining the national budget. And this contrasts sharply with its aggressive and genuinely pioneering steps in using Bitcoin's blockchain as a verifiable global notary for public document integrity. Innovation meeting fiscal limits.
Third, domestic dualities. The verifiable success in public safety metrics, the security gains, they are offset by critical long-term challenges in education. That concerning reduction in university enrollment directly threatens the supply of high-skilled labor. The very labor necessary to execute and maintain the ambitious digital governance projects and the global technological leadership the country is striving to achieve, it's a critical bottleneck.
Thank you so much for engaging with us on this comprehensive deep dive today. Your engagement, your curiosity, that's really what makes this analysis possible.
And we want to conclude by encouraging you once more to support the continuation of this project. If you found value here, please consider helping us continue this work. You can make contributions via PayPal and QR Bitcoin. You will find those links right there in the content description.
And please do share this content. Share it with anyone you feel would benefit from this detailed conversation and reflection on current events. Find us on your favorite platform as Noticias El Salvador SV.